Madam Chair, we're now live.
Thank you. So I will now call this meeting to order. It's 7 p.m. My name is Lindsay McNally, and I'll be acting as chairperson this evening. I welcome all individuals present. This meeting of the Property Standards and Animal Services Appeals Committee is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. Due to the COVID-19 emergency and requirements for physical distancing, no in-person attendance is permitted at this meeting. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience, and we'll proceed with the meeting now. I understand that there is a request from the appellant to amend the meeting format to make sure that her witness will have the opportunity to speak. I have just a few formalities that I need to deal with before we table that to the committee. So the Town of Ajax Animal Services Appeals Committee has full delegation of the authority of the Municipal Act to hear appeals. The committee will hear evidence presented by witnesses, town bylaw staff, property owners, the owner of the dog, or other individuals that may have evidence relating to the case and make decisions on the status of an order to restrain by confirming, modifying, rescinding, or extending the time for complying with the order. If an individual or the town does not agree with the decision of the committee with regards to an order to restrain decision, the order may be appealed to the General Government Committee of the town. All appeals processes will be outlined in the written decision of the committee, which will be mailed to the appellant. The format of this meeting will be that each appeal will be heard in the order listed on the agenda. Town staff first present their testimony to the committee, and the committee will then ask questions of the officer. At the conclusion of committee questions, the appellant will then have the opportunity to ask questions of the officer. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the town. After the town has concluded their case, the appellant will present their testimony to the committee. The committee will ask the appellant questions, and at the conclusion of committee questions, town staff will then have the option to ask questions of the appellant. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the appellant. At the conclusion of presentation of evidence, each side will be asked to summarize their respective positions, starting with town staff. The committee will then deliberate in a public forum. It's important that the appellant remain present, as there may be additional questions raised by members. So at this point in time, I do understand that the appellant has asked to modify the meeting procedure to allow her testimony and witnesses to go first. This is because one of her witnesses is not able to stay for the entire meeting. In order to do so, I would need a motion from the committee and approval to move forward with that change. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. And I just want to move to the first item on our agenda, which is the approval of the minutes dated September 10th, 2020. Any errors or omissions on the minutes?
No.
Does someone want to move to approve?
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That motion is carried. So the next item on our agenda is our appeal for this evening. It's a Solomon 6 Olson Drive, an animal services appeal. Because we have modified the procedure, we're going to go straight to the appellant. So is it Ms. Solomon?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Can you please present your testimony?
Sure. Okay. Good evening, everyone. First off, apologies for anyone that was affected by this incident, and has been nothing short of an eye-opening and a learning experience, to say the least. A little history of my family pets, which are Tyson and Cash, the dogs in question. Tyson has been a part of our family for almost 4 years, and Cash is coming up to 3 years. They're both loving, energetic, playful, and good-natured dogs. And they've been a part of our major family events like Christmas, birthdays, soccer games, and has grown with my nephew since he was 6 years old. On the day of the incident, nothing was out of the ordinary, and my mother had put Tyson and Cash, as well as 5 puppies, out in the gated backyard to play. While she prepped their food, she was periodically checking on them from the kitchen window. About 20 minutes into prepping, there was a knock at the door from the city informing her that all the dogs got out. Before that day, our dogs hadn't escaped from our backyard or attempted to get out of our gated property. For my mom, that was quite terrifying, so much so that she ran bare feet to try and track down the dogs. In that time, she was able to call me and my father, which we then made our way towards the trail, the area which she described where she last saw the dogs. I don't know what could have prompted them to escape or worse, attack other dogs or people. I don't know if the quick movements of dogs or people instinctively brought on anxiety for anyone, which caused my dogs to naturally react, most dogs would, out of fear or anxiety. Nevertheless, nevertheless, the lessons and consequences from what happened that day are far-reaching. With the direction of the order, we have reinforced our self-closing latches, in addition to adding 2 more latches at the bottom of our gates, making it a total of 4 locks per gate, 2 locks per gate. And to enforce positive behaviors, we've gone ahead and hired a certified dog trainer that enlightened my whole family on dog behaviors while making his biggest strides with a great impression and progress on Tyson, one of our dogs. In the order, it outlined that both dogs be muzzled while off our property, which we complied with. The first noticeable thing that we noticed from the muzzle was an audible choking or gargling sound. As the weeks went on, Tyson developed a bruise on his nose where the muzzle rested. Due to the pattern of his color, the skin under the white part of his nose, where the white fur is more sensitive, and the constant friction from the muzzle made bruising very noticeable, which I've enclosed photos as well. Cash developed a tendency to rub on our legs any chance she got to relieve the irritation from the friction of the muzzle. Also, in trying to reward progress and good behavior, it's very difficult to do so in a fluid manner. So much so that dogs have developed a habit of putting their paws on our hands to kind of stay like hold still, which has created an unwanted behavior. The muzzle also sends a visible message to other dog owners that our dogs are dangerous and untrained, which made it very difficult to create positive interactions with the neighborhood dogs because everyone that saw us coming would go the other direction or cross the street. Because of the nature of how things unfolded that day, I'm not sure if the muzzle order could have or would prevent a further incident of this nature. Even with the order of our dogs being in our friend's property, it does state in the order that they are not necessarily mandatory to wear a muzzle. I do, however, support the other aspects of the order, and with the tireless efforts of my dog trainer and my family has put in our dogs, their behaviors have tremendously improved. Under an adult supervision and leashed, we haven't had any attacking incidents. So for this reason, I've filed a motion for the muzzle portion of this order to be removed. I have included in the package, I guess everyone would see if they have the package, just to show that the first photo, if you were to look at that, where is the photo? If I can find it in the package. We attempted to modify the muzzle by wrapping it with vet wrapping, which is softer and able to rest on the dog's nose, but unfortunately that didn't make a difference and it still created a bruise. I do have about 11 videos of our progress that we've had within the community and trying to ensure that the dog training went a long way. I was able to have one neighbor allow us to get a little closer with our dog to show that under supervision and control that our dog does not normally attack anyone or any other dog. I don't know if my dog trainer is in. I don't see him, unfortunately, so I don't know how we can go ahead with showing the video. Who do I ask for that?
Sure. So
No,
is your testimony generally complete? Our moderator is prepared to show the videos, but I think it makes the most sense to make sure that you're complete with your statements, and then we'll move on to questions after the videos are played.
Yeah, so it's generally, yeah, it's completed.
Okay, thank you. So if our moderator could begin playing the videos for the committee, that'd be great.
Okay, this way.
It is. Oh. So in this, I don't know if anyone can hear me. In this video, we're just showing that Cash, which is the female dog, she will notice a dog across the road. So she just comes back and she looks, and then she just carries on her way. So this is just to show that when we're out and walking, our dog doesn't normally attack any other dogs or bark or make any sort of motion to go towards the other dogs when we're walking them. Also, this is the second one with Cash. So we're just on the trail where the incident actually happened. So she sees the dog. Once again, she just carries on and doesn't even bother with it. The first video was kind of hard, but there was audio with the gargling in it, but that's okay. So we'll just, this video is just like showing that the dog doesn't even pay much attention, and she just carries on her way. This is one with the other neighbor. We were able to walk with her, and it's another incident where she just sees the puppy and carries on her way. It was very hard to get anyone to even record. And this is her rubbing her leg after being irritated by the muzzle. So it causes a lot of friction on the side of her face. Tyson, you can see visible friction.
Okay.
In this video, it just shows us trying to reward him with a treat. And in that process, you can see he has to modify the way he chews because of the muzzle that is attached to his face. So it just doesn't promote much healthy health and safety for the dog, because it does make it a lot more difficult. This is my sister. She's trying to feed him, or Cash, sorry, her. And this is a smaller treat because we realized that it's hard to feed them bigger treats. So we reduced the size, but it just takes a lot longer to feed the dog. So once again, this is Tyson. There's a little dog behind the fence, and he just carries on his way, doesn't even look at the dog. This is in training. This is just to show that even with a dog sitting that close to him, he was able to ignore the dog, any distraction that was going on in the background. He didn't pay attention, and he just focused on me. And in the training, we've worked really hard on being able to allow him to be outdoors with other dogs. And even if there's distraction happening, he understands that you are to look at your owner or your master for your instructions. So this is just us showing progress on how well he's come and how well he's doing so far.
Good job.
So this now is just Tyson in a less dominant position, showing that once again he is able to sit down beside the other dog, and he's not making any noise. He's not trying to growl or attack or anything of that nature.
Okay. Good job.
On this video, it just shows there was a helpful neighbor in the neighborhood that allowed us to use his dog as an example for us to walk around and just to see how far training has gone. He's able to progress, walk around with the dog and sit down and not even make a budge towards him or growl or anything of that nature. They're able to be calm in an environment where he's been in before. So him turning away signifies that he doesn't even pay attention to the dog and doesn't even want to have anything with the dog. So for that, that's really good progress on behalf of my trainer and all the work that our family has put in. So that would be the end of my videos and my testimony, I guess. I don't know
Okay.
if he has made it.
I do believe that we have a witness here on your behalf. Before we move on to the witness, the next order is for the committee to ask questions of you. So I'll ask at this time, does the committee have any questions for the appellant?
Yes, I do, Dave.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Solomon, have you ever owned dogs before?
Before these two dogs, no, we haven't owned dogs.
Okay. Do you have any experience with muzzles prior to this latest incident?
No, we haven't had any experience with it.
And in the videos, I think it was Tyson is shown in the obedience class. Did both dogs go to the obedience training or just Tyson?
So only Tyson was able to go at the moment. It is super expensive. So we are working on Cash being able to get her treatment in or her training sessions in.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Ms. Solomon?
Yep.
Have you spoken to your trainer or maybe a veterinarian about a different model of muzzle that might not cause that sort of damage to their noses?
So we have spoken to the trainer and the vet. So the muzzle that we have, I want to say it's Breville. I'm sorry, I can't remember. It starts with a B. I'm not too sure if anyone may remember it. It was based on the instructions given from the company. We were able to melt it down and mold it to the shape of the dog. So it is a proper size. It is suited for them. The other muzzle we've looked at is, oh, I can't remember the name. We did look at other ones. There was a few that was actually closing down their mouth. So when we tried to use it on them, they weren't able to breathe or drink water or receive the treat. So for that reason, we figured that was the best model that we could have used on them, so that they were able to breathe and actually receive the treats to encourage the positive behavior, which we've also seen a great impact on Cash. Even though we haven't been able to take her to the training, the lessons that we've learned from the training with Tyson, we've been able to transfer that over to her in the meantime.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon. That's all my questions.
Any other committee questions?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Just if I can clarify, Ms. Solomon, in response to the previous questions, is the answer no, that you did not go back to a veterinarian or the trainer in regards to the issues that you were having with the dogs and the muzzles rubbing on the nose?
So it was a progressive problem. So when we first noticed it happening, we did address it. I addressed it with the trainer at first, and they said, possibly try the other thing. I then went to the vet where I got that information where, because Tyson has that lighter fur, his skin is a little bit more sensitive. So we modified it by removing, there was an attachment that went from the tip of the nozzle over his head. So we removed that attachment, and that's why we added on the vet wrapping. But it just proved that the muzzle is actually resting on that part of his face. And because of the color of the skin is a lot more, or the color of the fur, the skin is a lot more sensitive there. As for Cash, we're not going to see it as much, but just the constant rubbing that she does on her leg, it shows that she's being irritated by it. And that was from the vet's information that we got.
Okay, so since that, have you gone back again to the vet to address the issues of the persistent rubbing?
So we have gone back. It's not something where they say, you know, we can prescribe something. They, as the other gentleman asked, have we tried other muzzle? We had tried other, I want to say it's a Healy. I want to say that's the name of the other muzzle. I'm not remembering it correctly. My apologies, but some of those exposed their whole muzzle, so I didn't see how that could, I guess, prevent what they were trying to do, prevent the dog from biting. So it's either their mouth was closed by some of the muzzles or it was exposed, therefore not serving a purpose of a muzzle.
Okay. And can you go back over where you were speaking about the latches that were added to the gate? Can you just go back over that?
Yeah, so we had 2 self-closing latches, one on each of our gates because our property has 2 gates. And then we've just ensured that what was there, we've reinforced it and we added a second one to the bottom of each gate, which has a string. So therefore only a human or a tall enough adult could access the string to relieve the latch to open the gate. So if one opens, the second one wouldn't. So the gate will still remain closed.
Okay. Sorry, and just one other quick question. Actually, no, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I do have a question for you, Ms. Solomon, just on that line of dog muzzles, and perhaps my colleagues were trying to get at something but didn't quite ask the question. Have you tried a different brand or style of muzzle for your dogs?
We have, and to be honest, the names are slipping me, which is awful. But we have, like I said, the first one we tried, it's 2 Velcro, and you would wrap it around the dog's nose, which allowed the dog's muzzle to stay closed, which prevented us from giving him treats, any of the dog's treats, or if they were thirsty, if they were to breathe, it prevented their mouth to actually open. So that
Okay.
we just didn't use. And then there was another one, like I said, where it wrapped more closer to like their eyes, but it left their actual mouth part open. So
Right.
that was good for feeding and giving them treats and water and breathing, but I didn't see how that would prevent the case of a potential bite.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there are quite a few different muzzles on the market. I'm just looking at them right now on my other screen, and I'm counting about 30 different styles and brands of muzzle. Some of which, like you said, are more around this part of the face.
Yeah,
But I can see with your dog's face shape.
it's
Um,
longer.
yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll make one last call for committee questions before we move on.
No question.
Okay, so seeing none, we'll ask, is it Officer Macaulay, if you have any questions for the appellant?
Hi there. No, I do not have any questions for the appellant.
Okay, thank you. Now, I do believe that we have a witness here on your behalf. I'm not sure if it's your dog trainer. Maybe our moderator could let us know who we have here.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, we have a couple witnesses here today. We have Leslie McHugh and Sunshine Kenoshameg and Yonette Prince.
Okay. Ms. Solomon, is any of those your dog trainer that you're waiting to have present
No,
on your behalf?
no,
No?
unfortunately, and I've been messaging him and trying to get someone else to call him and no response. I do apologize about that. We did include a letter from him. I guess I could say everyone has read or seen the letter.
Yes, we all
Yeah.
reviewed the package in
Okay.
detail in
Yeah.
advance of this meeting. And
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
are
sorry.
any-
I'm getting information that he's in a class, so unfortunately, I guess he wasn't able to make it.
Okay, so are any of the other witnesses attending here on your behalf?
I do have my mom, Yonette Prince, which is the person that the officer came into contact with to first initial let us know that the dogs were no longer on our property.
Okay. Are any of them going to be presenting testimony on your behalf tonight?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, thank you. So what we'll do then is we will move on with the town's portion. So Officer McCauley, if you could please present your testimony on behalf of the town.
Yes, good evening, everybody. As stated, my name is Matt McCauley, and I'm an Animal Services Officer with the town of Ajax. So I'm just going to give you a synopsis of all the evidence that I have in regards to this incident. On September 11th, 2020, I responded to a call at 4:40 p.m. for 2 large dogs and 5 puppies that were running at large in the area of Montebello Crescent and Weston Crescent in Ajax. Upon arriving, I was met by several people who were telling me about the dogs running at large and where they were last seen. I was then approached by a gentleman named Mr. Scott, who said that he was walking his dog on the trail and that it was attacked by 2 large dogs. I gave him my business card and told him to leave me a voicemail so that I could get back to him later and grab some more information from him. As I was talking to Mr. Scott, the 2 large dogs came running down the trail and ran past myself and the group of people I was standing with. One dog was completely brown and the other was a brindle color. I noticed they both had collars on. I was then approached by another gentleman who said he thinks that the dogs live on Olson Drive. I then performed a search in the town's animal licensing database, which is called DocuPet, and I found that 6 Olson Drive had 2 lab mixes registered to the property that matched the colors of the dogs that I saw. Attached in the agenda were the licensing proof that has the colors and breeds of the dogs. I knocked on the door of 6 Olson Drive and I spoke to a woman and asked if 2 large brown dogs lived at this address. She said yes. I then notified her that they are running at large and that I would need her assistance in helping contain them immediately. Myself and the female resident from 6 Olson Drive, we proceeded to look for the 2 dogs and 5 puppies that were running at large. We located the puppies in the rear yard of a neighboring property. With consent from the homeowners, we left the puppies secured in that rear yard, and I resumed my search to try to locate 2 adult dogs. While searching, I received a call from our dispatch center that a woman wanted to report that her dog had been bit by 2 dogs running at large on a trail system behind Route Crescent in Ajax. I called the complainant back, whose name was Leslie McHugh. She stated that while she was not present at the time of the attack, her niece and nephew were walking her dog when the attack took place. I advised her that I would call her back later and get full details of the incident. While still looking for the 2 dogs at large, I called the registered owner, whose contact information I found on DocuPet. I spoke with Roshana Solomon, who was the appellant in this case, and informed her that her dogs were running at large. She said that she was on her way back to Ajax, but advised that a family member told her that the 2 adult dogs were now back at 6 Olson Drive. I then attended the secured yard of the neighboring property and collected the puppies. I then proceeded to go meet with the appellant at 6 Olson Drive. Upon arrival, I was able to confirm that the 2 adult dogs were back home and confirm that she was the registered owner. I advised her that I have to complete my investigation and will let her know what course of action I decide to take. At 7:10 p.m. that night, I spoke with Ms. McHugh over the phone, who stated that she had just got back from the vet, where it was determined that her dog suffered a puncture wound near the neck and cuts to its eye. On September 12th, 2020, I met with Ms. McHugh at her home, where her niece provided me with a handwritten statement of the dog attack that she witnessed, which is attached in the agenda. I also took pictures of the dog's wounds, which is also attached. I then met with Mr. Scott at his home and took pictures of scratch marks that his dog received from the attack that he had reported. Those pictures are attached. On September 13th, I went to 6 Olson Drive and met with a male homeowner. I took pictures of the 2 dogs, which are Cash and Tyson. On September 21st, I served Roshana Solomon with a Part 1 provincial offenses ticket for allowing her dogs to run at large. At this time, I also advised the appellant that I was going to place an order to restrain on both Cash and Tyson. On September 22nd, orders to restrain number 20-106944A and number 20-106944B were issued and dated as September 26, 2020. The order was sent via regular mail and prepaid registered mail to the appellant, Roshana Solomon of 6 Olson Drive. On October 15th, I received notice of intention to appeal dated October 9th, 2020 for order to restrain file numbers 20-104966A and 20-106944B from the appellant Roshana Solomon. On October 16th, a registered letter was sent to Roshana Solomon from the Secretary of the town's Property Standards and Animal Services Appeal Committee, Rahima Makrod, advising of the time and date of the meeting. And that concludes my evidence.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions for the officer?
Yes, I have a question for the officer. It's Dave. Officer McCauley, in your investigation, did you determine if one or both of the dogs had bit the other dogs?
So I was not present at the time of the incident, so I could not speak as to what dog did bite or attack. That would be a question better suited for the witness.
But I noticed both the restraining orders went to both the dogs. I just thought perhaps your investigation led you to believe both dogs were involved in the biting.
Both dogs were seen running at large together. And so I issued both because they were both running at large. And I presume them to be together the entire time.
Okay, thank you. My other question then is from the photos, it appears that both dogs have large heads and broad snouts. Are there humane muzzles available that can accommodate dogs of this size?
When it comes to muzzles, the town cannot endorse or specify any muzzles to tell a resident to use. However, we just want to make sure that the muzzle is humane. The main points that we want to stress when it comes to picking a muzzle is that they're able to breathe properly, that they are able to pant if they're being walked on a hot day, and they must be able to drink water. Being fed any food or treats is not a necessity while wearing a muzzle.
Okay, thank you. That's my questions.
Any other committee members?
No.
I do have a couple of questions for the officer. I wanted to better understand the timing of when the dogs were returned home. So you got the call at 4:40 p.m. that the dogs were running at large, but the time that you spoke to the appellant or a member of their household and confirmed that the dogs had returned home, it's not clear from your report. Do you have an estimated timeline of how long the dogs were running at large?
To be very honest with you, that it was quite a chaotic scene. I was running around half of the town trying to locate these dogs and dealing with two separate instances of people saying that they were being attacked. So I was trying to get their information as well. So it was quite chaotic. I do not know the exact time frame that the dogs were out running at large, but I would say that it was close to an hour.
And do you have any information about how they were returned home? Were they found by their owner? Did they come back on their own?
I believe the appellant, Roshana Solomon, I believe it was her mother that eventually found the dogs and returned them home.
Okay. And my last question relates not to the two dogs in question, but I wanted to get a better understanding of how the 5 puppies fit into this incident.
So when I first received the call, I received the call for 2 dogs as well as 5 puppies all running at large. So when I first arrived on the scene, I was looking for 5 puppies and 2 large dogs. So I wanted to locate all of them, but of course they were all spread out. And as I stated earlier, we were able to contain all the 5 puppies. And then my focus shifted to finding the 2 larger dogs. So the puppies were part of the incident, but the only thing is that they were running at large and we just wanted to make sure that they were secured.
And the puppies, are they also owned by the appellant?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. And now, Ms. Solomon, you have an opportunity to ask any questions of the officer.
Okay, sure. I would just like to speak towards, I guess the same thing where one of the gentlemen asked about which dog it was that, were you able to get any information from any of them to, I guess, narrow down which dog and as to why both was given a muzzle? Sorry, a muzzle?
As I stated earlier, I can't speak to which exact dogs, if it was one, if it was both, were responsible for the attack. That would be better suited for the individual who was there at the time of attack, as I was not. But I felt it fit to put the orders on both dogs as they were running together the entire time.
Okay, and since then, can you speak towards, I guess, the 5 puppies, the information I then gave you as to they were no longer in our care? I guess I would say.
Are you referring to a conversation we had?
Yeah, so with the conversation that we had on the puppies and things of that nature, can you speak to the fact that they are no longer of an issue, I guess, for our family?
The last conversation I remember having with you about the puppies was that you were looking to rehome them, and that is all that I remember.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That would be all my questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe we have 2 witnesses on behalf of the town, Ms. McHugh and Ms. Prince. How would we like to proceed? Who would like to go first?
If I could just interject there, my witness is Leslie McHugh, and then her niece, Miss Prince, is not my witness.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Ms. McHugh, are you prepared to present your testimony now?
Yes, my niece, Sunshine Kenoshmeg, submitted a letter, so I can let her speak, and then I can speak about once I arrived at the incident after it happened.
Certainly. Sunshine, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sunshine Kenoshmeg. I'm 15 years old. I'm just going to be reading off the letter I submitted, and also I just want to express some of the feelings and thoughts that I've had, like that didn't come to me from the letter I submitted. My brother and I thought it was a beautiful day to take our puppy for a walk. We were almost at a corner, and 2 pit bulls ran toward us and began to attack our dog. I screamed and yelled at the dogs to stop. I tried to pick up our dog, but the 2 pit bulls continued to jump around and attack. I was scared of being bitten, as well as my brother. My brother finally got the dogs away, and we called our auntie and headed home, thinking we were safe. There was a father and his 2 young sons not too far behind us. My brother and I heard a scream and some barking, so we turned around to see those 2 same pit bulls were attacking the children. The father picked up the 2 kids and hid in the bushes. The dogs tried to attack my brother, my dog, and I again, so we stood our ground and kicked them away. Our aunt was headed towards us once we told her what had happened, and that's where the 2 dogs were headed. I'm thankful that my aunt took charge of those dogs. So I just want to say that while it was happening, the dog that actually bit my dog was like the 2-color dog. They both had my dog pinned down on the ground. The 2-color dog was the one that actually punctured my dog's neck, and then the fully brown one had his other mouth on the back of my dog. So I was able to grab my my dog between both of their heads on the belly, and then that's from where my brother was able to get the dogs away. It was like a really traumatic experience. It's like the first thing that's ever happened to me like that. So I started crying and I didn't know what to do. My brother ended up calling my auntie and we told her what happened. So she quickly got on her bike and she headed our way. as we were walking towards there, that's when that little incident happened with the dad and the kids. And the dogs were able, and when we turned around, we seen, I don't really remember which dog it was. I think it might have been the two-colored dog again that bit the kid. But yeah, they tried to come towards me, my dog, and my brother, so we got them ahead of us. And then we seen them heading towards my auntie, and my auntie stood her ground. She had the bike in front of her. I could tell that she was scared that the dogs were going to bite her. She was yelling and clapping, trying to get the dogs to come towards her because she seen me and my brother just standing there. We were scared that those dogs were going to end up coming back towards us. As soon as we got towards my aunt had already got the dogs to lay down on the ground. She gave me her bike, and that's when she instructed me to head home and go get a rope as we can tie them up. Because there was other people there. There was 2 kids, and there's a lady with a baby and some elderly people. I was worried that those dogs might have might have attacked the other children that were there. Yeah, I just want to also say that I haven't really been able to walk that way anymore, just because I'm scared that those dogs are gonna come around the corner. And I just seen in the video that those dogs are still walking those trails, so I don't really feel safe walking there. I'm just trying to really be aware of each corner I'm going through now. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, so if it's okay if I could speak, it's Leslie McHugh, their aunt. So I got the phone call from my nephew saying that my dog was just attacked and that they were scared that the dogs were going to come back. And I could hear in their voice that they were pretty frantic, that they could see the dogs still on the trail and they were worried that they were going to come back. So I hopped on my bike, and it's about probably like a 2 or 3 minute bike ride down to the trail behind our house. And so I biked down there, and when I got to the beginning of the trail, I could see both of the dogs in the middle of the trail. So the dogs were in between my niece and nephew and myself in the middle of the trail. And so I started yelling and clapping to bring the dogs towards me so that my niece and nephew would be okay. And the dogs came running towards me. And as they were running towards me, I put my bike in front of me and I started to yell at them to lay down and to sit. And after doing it a couple of times, I finally got them both to lay down. And because there was a lot of people around there, I was yelling at people to stay back because my nephew told me that it attacked my dog and bit another child. I just wasn't sure if the dogs would bite anybody else. So I redirected some of the people, and my niece and nephew continued down the trail. When they got to me, I gave them my bike and instructed them to go home as fast as they could to get rope. And so my thoughts were that if they brought me back rope, that I could tie both of those dogs up until somebody could come and help us, and that I could get in touch with the owner to make sure that they were held accountable for my dog's attack. I was maybe there a couple more moments, and Yanette showed up, and she grabbed both of the dogs by their collars, and she was on the phone pretty frantic with somebody letting her know where she was. I asked for her phone number and for her contact information. After I received that, I ran back to my house because I was unsure the status of what was wrong with my dog, and I was unsure how my niece and nephew were doing. Once I got back home, I took my dog to the vet probably within an hour because that was the only emergency appointment that we could find in the area. And because we had just moved here, we were unsure really of where to go. So we took the first available appointment that we could find in the area. So I took my dog to the vet. He ended up having nerve damage to his eye on the right side, his mouth on the right side, and his right back leg. And he's still not back to 100%. So my dog cannot close his right eye fully. His mouth on the right side continues to droop and drool, resulting in him not being able to hold food in his mouth. And he was limping for about a month after the incident. He's no longer limping, but his eye and his mouth are not back to 100%.
Thank you. Is your evidence complete?
Yes.
Okay. Does the committee have any questions for these witnesses?
I do. It's Jessica speaking. Ms. McHugh, when you arrived on the scene and you saw the two dogs standing in the path, did you notice any barking, any sort of aggressive stance of the dog? Were they, or were they just standing still? Like, were you scared of an attack at that point?
100%. I was scared of an attack. They weren't standing still. One dog was on one side of the trail and one dog was on the other side of the trail, and they were sniffing and moving very quickly around that area. And so to get their attention, I felt like I needed to yell and create loud noises so that they would come towards me. When they were running towards me, both of their mouths were open, and looked like at that time that they were going to attack.
Did you witness any attack from the dogs on any other person or animal?
I did not, but my niece Sunshine did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Sunshine still there that I can ask her a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Sunshine, thank you very much for participating in this and answering questions, because I know that's pretty traumatic for you. When you witnessed the dogs attacking your dog as well as the other people, what were they barking ahead of time, or did they just go in for an attack? Do you remember?
Me and my brother, we were walking. I was trying to show him, like, both of us were trying to learn the new area, so we weren't really expecting the dogs to come at us. The dogs, immediately from coming around the corner, they went down low and they looked like they were at an attacking stance. And as soon as they saw our dog, they immediately jumped at our dog, and there was barking and there was a lot of growling. It was really frantic, and me and my brother were yelling and we were screaming, and there was no people around us, so we were unsure what to do.
Thank you.
It's Dave. I'd like to ask a question, please. And this is for Sunshine. How old are you, Sunshine?
I'm 15.
Thank you.
And her
And
brother-
how old is your brother?
My brother is 14 now.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
My brother is 14 and I'm 15.
Okay. Sunshine, you said I think I heard you say you saw a child was bitten.
Yeah, there was a man and two children ahead of us, but because we were scared, we were kind of pacing. We were walking fast, so we did pass them on the way back. A little while after we passed them, like 2 minutes after we passed them, we looked back after we heard a scream. The two children, when we looked back, I seen the dog, the two-colored dog. Its mouth was still on the kid's hand. Both of the children began to run, and then the dad yelled at them and told them to stop running because the dogs would chase them. The dad slowly walked over to the two kids, picked them up, and he went into the bushes.
Okay. And then I believe I'm reading your I heard your testimony, and similar to, I think, to what you've written here, but there's an indication here the dogs tried to attack my brother, my dog, and I again. And
Yeah,
this is after this incident with the man and the two children?
yeah. After that happened, because we were just a little bit ahead of them, the dogs seen our dog again, and they came towards us, and they again started to get that low stance. Me and my brother, we just stood still and we yelled at them. From there, they went ahead of us towards where my auntie was.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask a question then of, no, sorry, I'm all done.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee questions for this witness?
Actually, yeah, Sunshine, I just wanted to confirm that you did see, but both dogs had their mouth around your dog, right?
Yeah, I was like trying, my dog was on a leash, so I was like trying to get him away from the dogs. Because like I was pulling on him, his whole collar came off with the leash.
Mhm.
Both of the dogs had their jaws on my dog, and my dog was pinned to the ground. The dog with that was two colors that pierced my dog's neck had his jaw around my dog's neck, and the fully brown one had his jaw around my dog's butt. So I grabbed him between both of their heads on his belly area, and I picked him up as fast as I could.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other committee questions? Last call for them? No? Officer McCauley, do you have any questions for this witness?
I do not, no, thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Ms. Prince. Ms. Prince, are you going to be giving evidence at this meeting? Is it Yannette? Did we lose this witness? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So at this point,
I think she was muted, or she'll be coming to speak.
okay. We do need to proceed with the meeting. Is our moderator able to prompt the witness to unmute their microphone?
I will send a prompt now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sorry about that.
There we go. Are you giving testimonies at this point in time?
Yeah, all I have to say, want to add, is when the officer come and knock on the door, and we went to looking for the dogs, and I run down the tracks, and I meet people coming down on the tracks, and I ask them, "Did you see a dog?" I say, "Yes." They're enjoying the trail going up the tracks, and I keep running on the tracks. When I approach, I meet the witness that say the owner. She has them sitting at the corner of the trail. She said, I think the dog, no, your dog bit my dog. I said, okay. And she asked, can I have your information? I give her my information, and I was tired, so I took both dogs. They were sitting calm with her. I took both of them and I sit on the grass. I call my daughter and trying to direct them where I'm at. For all the years we have our dog or whatever, I never know them to be in no low stands, ready to attack or anything. I always know them to be loving. They might jump on you, play with you, but in the stands down, ready to attack, no. The panting and the breathing, yes, because maybe they're running the trail because they're tired. When I reach up to the girl, she had them sitting calm on the butt, as she said. She called them to her, they go, and she tell them to sit. She tell them to lie, and it's exactly what they did. And when I approach her, that is where I met her with the dog at the same, what she explained. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. So just to confirm, you're attending with the appellant tonight. You're with Ms. Solomon, not on behalf of the town, no?
I'm with Ms. Solomon.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I'll do now is I'll move on to the portion of the meeting where each side gets to represent their position. And so Officer McCauley, could you summarize your position on behalf of the town?
Yes, for sure. So it is the town's position that in order to restrain for both dogs, as well as muzzle requirements for both dogs, are needed for Tyson and Cash to ensure the safety of the community and the safety of the dogs themselves. We also believe that it's necessary to prevent any future incidents from happening. And that is my summarized.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Solomon. You also have an opportunity to summarize your position.
Okay, so based on the information given beforehand, there was nothing explaining that any child was bit or anyone else was attacked. The first information that was given initially was that it was one dog that was bitten, potentially two. Based on the information provided, it shows that it's only been one dog that was bit, and the other dog received, I guess, minimal scratches. For the overall well-being and the health of our dogs, we feel that the muzzle is something that we should have an option to put on the dog when in the care of the dog's owners. Tyson and Cash are not aggressive dogs. They're not dogs that attack anyone. Before, we've actually walked on that trail numerous times, and we haven't had an issue with anybody being attacked or the dog growling at anyone or any of that nature. The other portions of the order were more than abiding and already have inputted those aspects of the order. Also stating that, unfortunately, due to the way the incident unfolded, as per the order, the dogs being in the backyard doesn't, without having a muzzle on, wouldn't prevent something like this happening again. And as I stated, once in the care of adults, our dogs has never had an incident where they've attacked. And that would have been proven when the witness was able to get the dog's attention and able to get them to sit. Like I said, things that we've done, I think would be much more of an improvement of their behavior, as in their training and things of that nature, which would deter any kind of incident from that to be happening, because we've now said we've gotten a better handle on what dogs' behavior are, and we know what to look for as to why we were able to seek out modified behavior training to target what has happened.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Solomon. The committee will now deliberate in a public forum. And just as a reminder, we ask that you do remain present in case there are any additional questions raised by members while we deliberate. So my fellow committee members, it seems that we actually have two orders to restrain to address. And so what I'd like to do is propose that we discuss each one individually, make the decisions one at a time. And so in no particular order, perhaps we'll start with the order to restrain on the dog named Cash. That's the brown female. And maybe we could just go around and sort of have a preliminary discussion about how you're feeling about the request to modify the order. And I'll call on you just in the order that I see you on my screen. So Jessica, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just pulling up the orders again to look at them. Sorry, I went the wrong way scrolling here.
Okay, why don't I go to Tyler and we'll come back to you.
Sorry.
No problem.
Sure. Just based on the evidence that we heard tonight, sorry, I will preface this by saying I don't know about the other child that was bitten, so I won't comment on that, that the witness Sunshine spoke about. But from the evidence we've seen, the pictures and the witness testimony, I think that the muzzle order is appropriate. It seemed to be a fairly aggressive attack, and there just is no guarantee that we wouldn't see this sort of behavior again, even under the supervision of the owners in the future. So those would be my feelings.
Okay, thank you. Jessica, are you ready for us?
Yes. So looking at the order to restrain for the female brown unsterilized lab mix type dog named Cash, the dog was running at large. It was aggressive. It was involved in an attack, whether it was the one that bit the neck area or whether it was the one that bit the hindquarters area of the dog that was attacked, I don't think is relevant. What I do think is relevant is that it was involved in the attack. And from the appellant's own admission, this dog has not received any formal training, behavioral modification. So I think that the order as written to me seems like it would be a reasonable thing in terms of keeping the muzzle to prevent this type of an attack if it was out again in the future, even on a leash, because this dog has not had formal behavioral training.
Okay. Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, it sounds like a very chaotic and unfortunate scene occurred that day. And I think other than it being an unfortunate incident with a lot of trauma associated to it, I think everybody has behaved in a manner that might be expected as responsible during and since. I think it's complicated by the fact there's two dogs. We only have one witness who really saw what was going on, and the niece, Sunshine. And it appears that Tyson was the more obvious one biting, yet both dogs were in on the attack on the smaller dog with their mouths. But Tyson was also seen in the evidence biting a child or had its mouth on a child's hand. I think as far as the muzzle itself goes, I'm convinced there are muzzles that would fit the dog. It seems that in listening to Officer McCauley's evidence that eating is not something that is supposed to be accomplished with a muzzle on. And therefore some of that abrasion on Tyson's snout, in the middle of the snout, the abrasion could be caused by feeding him treats and doing other things that are not intended to be happening when a dog has a muzzle on. So I would say what we're looking at is, are we comfortable that this would never happen if we took away the removal of the muzzle obligation? Are we comfortable that this would never happen if the dogs were on a leash without a muzzle? So I'm not comfortable with as far as cash goes.
So just to make sure that it's clear for all the committee members participating, so you would feel then that the order is appropriate?
Yes.
I think it's appropriate for both myself.
Okay, and Siobhan?
So I would have to agree with everything that's being said. At the end, for me, I kind of go back to with the comment from my fellow committee member. If the muzzle was removed, am I comfortable with it? The dog not having the muzzle, would the incident be able to replicate itself? I'm not comfortable to say that it wouldn't, so I would have to agree and with the upholding of the order as is.
And I have to say that I agree with the appellant's perspective that the muzzle order would not prevent this particular situation from recurring, because in this case, the dogs were running at large, they were not in control of their owner, and that's when the incident occurred. But what makes me uncomfortable about removing the muzzle portion of the order is that because the owner was not present during the attack, we're not sure even which dog did the biting or instigated the issue. And we're not sure what events led to the attack, like what triggered the dog to attack and bite another animal. And so even if the dog were to be in the control of their owner, they may not be able to recognize behavior of the dog that would be signs that they are becoming aggressive and could attack again. So despite the training and despite the fact that I do see the appellant's point of view about the muzzle relating to this particular incident, I would not be comfortable removing that from the order. And so I also feel that the order should be upheld as written. That said, I think probably on this particular order relating to the dog Cash, we may be ready for a motion. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I can make a motion to uphold the order as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I do.
Okay, that motion is carried. We will discuss now the order relating to Tyson, which is the brindle male dog. And maybe in the interest of being respectful of everyone's time, is everyone's perspective on this order generally the same as theirs for the order that we just discussed?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
are we ready on this order as well with a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Does someone want to make that motion?
Motion to uphold order as is.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. So, Ms. Solomon, the committee has deliberated and we advise that the orders to restrain issued both for your dogs Tyson and Cash will be upheld as written. A written decision will be mailed to you following this meeting. And if you do not agree with the committee's decision, the appeals process will be detailed in the written decision mailed to you, as well as outlined those options earlier in this meeting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is a verbal update from town staff relating to Turkov, 7 Sheldon Drive.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In relation to the property standards order and appeal that was heard for Mr. Turkov at 7 Sheldon Drive, it was regarding 4 dead trees on the property. An order was issued to remove them, and Mr. Turkov appealed the order. As follow-up, the town clerk received notification that Mr. Turkov has filed appeal with the Divisional Court of Ontario, appealing the committee's decision. The matter has now been transferred to the town solicitor. It's now the town solicitor's file to deal with. However, it would appear that the appeal has been filed in the wrong court. It should have been filed in the Superior Court of Ontario, and the town solicitor is dealing with that matter now, and I will have further updates at future meetings on the standing of that order. That concludes the town's position for the verbal update.
Thank you very much. Is there any new business to discuss at this time?
Madam Chair, the town has no new business at this time.
Okay, thank you. So I believe we have concluded the business for which this meeting was called. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? I assume none are opposed. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time, and have a great evening.